YouTube channel. Going on about 10 years, a little over 31,000 subscribers, and we like to do Sunday coffee chat. So welcome. If you're watching this after it was streamed, thank you. And if you are one of the few who will be part of this stream, thank you. Looking forward to it. We're going to get started by talking about what we're going to talk about in this video. I've got a bunch of topics planned. Of course, the bananas, the pineapples, the coconuts, the trifecta of fruity awesomeness in my way of looking at the world. We're going to talk about all three of those. We're also going to talk about some of the success I've had with figs and some of the lack of success I've had. Also some transitions that have occurred in the yard over the last year or so. We had a couple of impactful hurricane storm events that have transitioned the yard. As you can see, my yin yang town and country sign has been destroyed. We will reconstruct it. However, a lot of changes. If you can see in the left-hand corner of the shot, that hat-racked thing is a giant Hayden mango tree, which had gotten out of the range of pickers and had gotten out of an area that I ever felt comfortable with because it was so close to this power line here. And of course, during a storm, that thing blows over on that line. We're out of power for an extended period of time, which is not good. And we also probably get damage to the house. And who wants fruit 50 feet in the air? Everybody raise your hand who wants fruit 50 feet in the air. I didn't like that at all. So then it becomes squirrel fruit, what I call squirrel fruit. All right, let me make sure I've got the chat. Okay. All right, good. The chat is up as far as I can tell. I was unable to get my wireless Rode Go-To microphone up and running this morning because I neglected to charge it. So thanks for watching Eat Your Backyard Sunday Coffee Chat. This morning I am drinking a delicious Califia Cold Brew Black. And of course, we've been Bucks fans for years, even when they weren't winning and when they are winning. And today we play the 49ers, which should be interesting. Most people are predicting the 49ers will win. All right, let's see. I'm not one of those people, by the way. So let's see what's going on. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you know we have a little farm going on here in the backyard, more or less, which consists of a few key permaculture systems. And one is right there. It's the bunny run. And the other one is right there. That's the chicken run. And our chickens are very well trained. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's do this. This is a good ritual for the Sunday morning coffee chat. We'll do the chickie call. Yeah, chick, chick. Only two. Interesting. Try one more time. Yeah, chick, chick. Only the barred rocks came. Beautiful barred rock chicken. Very interesting. However, you look here, oh look, there's Penelope, the female lionhead bunny. She is a guard bunny. She always comes to this door, which I made a screen here so that she could see through it, and she always loves to sit here. Both her and Thumper, our male rabbit, which we keep forever separated so that we don't have baby bunnies. You see how she sits there? She gave me the bunny butt. She sits there right at the door. This is like her spot for sure. Making this bunny run the way I did, I tried to keep it as open and airy as possible due to the fact that it gets sweltering hot here in the summer. And it actually is a fairly cool spot now as a result. We did some interesting things. Jack and I actually did this project. I had a fence that ran along here, and you can see the bottom is still mostly fenced, but it was just like this, the shadow box, but we decided we wanted more airflow. This is east, so we wanted to open it up to the oh, look, these hens want attention. Look at how healthy they look, by the way. Just gonna let this be distracted for a moment. That is what a healthy chicken looks like. I mean, you see how red the wattles are? What fun chickens. Yeah. They're hungry. They want a treat. This is the time when my wife usually comes out, gives them some food scraps, which they love. But anyway, so we removed just one side of the panels along the bottom and then all of the panels along the top, and then I just put in this type of, which I got at Lowe's, this type of laminated wire as the barrier, and they've been unable to fly over it, so it's been working quite well. We already had one chicken escape this morning, though. It was one of our golden birds. There you are. Yeah, and it's so interesting. The golden chickens always are the ones that get out. They're little chickens and they can fly higher, and they're better than the barred rocks. And usually one or two will fly out and then they want to get into the bunny run for whatever reason, but come right to the bunny run. All right, let's see here. Hopefully I won't lose connection. Let's go see what Penelope is up to here. Hey, we do know she thinks she's about to get pet. So that's what. Beautiful bunny. Produces most of the fertilizer in our yard. Comes from this beautiful creature who gets treated pretty well. You can see, very tame rabbit. Oops. Yeah. You want some attention too, don't you? It's amazing how really friendly these golden chickens are. They will let you hold them for long periods of time. They actually enjoy people. Such a strange thing to see. I hope you're just gonna take a nap down there. All right. You can see I've got this bunny run set up. It looks like just a stick pile, but there's method to my madness. This is all area where the bunnies love to climb around and chew on the wood, and sometimes they'll sleep under there. You know, this creates a really, my way of looking at it, a really engaging environment. Bunnies can run around, and they go tearing around in here, and they have all their favorite places. Of course, this is one of their very favorite places, which is our recycle bin. Yeah, you can recycle, but can you recycle recyclers? Because I'm getting ready to recycle a recycle bin. Hey. Look at you, another healthy chicken. Another very healthy chicken. Yeah. What do you want to do? You want to get out? She wants to get out. Let's see. She'll come into the... Come on. No, She wants to eat grass, and that's the problem with the chickens. Too much free range is that they will eat up your grass, and we like grass. Now that we have a less shady environment, the patch here will grow in. It was just dying because it didn't have enough sunlight, but it's going to come back strong now. We did a lot of shade management this year, but let's get into the topic of the video. This takes me a little while, but bananas are first. Update on my bananas. I had several bananas that were growing as story bananas, I would call them, underneath this strawberry tree you see here. It's Jamaican cherry, Muntingia tree. However, it has just received a lot more sun recently because that tree got shredded by Hurricane Nicole. Well, first by Hurricane Ian, then by Hurricane Nicole. You can see many of the eastern facing branches are broken off. The other branches are dead. They were wind whipped to death. So I'm going to be trimming this back pretty significantly this year. I'll wait though until spring. Why, you might ask? Well, Florida, we do get some cold weather, and you don't want to trim tender-leaved trees right before that time comes, because then the new growth comes and it gets burned. And that will happen with this type of tree, the Muntingia. It's fairly cold intolerant. The seedlings will die in about 45-degree temperatures every time, so they're very sensitive. They're sensitive to wind too, and so the hurricane experience was not kind to them. It's one of the least resilient of all. I can show you an example of one that didn't get hit by the wind that's doing just fine right now. Did have some branches die, but was able to recover, but this one got just destroyed. It was sticking up above everything else, so tallest blade of grass syndrome. But that reduction used to be very shady here, nice canopy. Well, now lots of sun, and these bananas are already taking advantage. I see a change in their growth, but these are just so easy to grow as long as you keep them watered. If you're growing them in loose soil, I would say it's the best, like sandy soil. I'm growing basically in sand, you can see, and they love that. And then I just give them the bunny manure as the organics. And here's a musa. Some musa. I just harvested one. I need to take that stump down a little lower, but this is a musa. It's a much larger type of banana, and you can see it got shredded by Nicole. You see the leaves there, and you can see the new leaves coming right back. So as long as they don't get tipped over, the bananas do pretty well, even the tall ones in the hurricane scenario. And I had a huge area of musa bananas growing on the other side where the chicken coop is now. I had to get rid of that to have the chicken coop, but I moved remnants of those outside of the coop over there in the fenced area the larger fenced area they're in. And I also moved some here. And so now I've already gotten 2 or 3 harvests from the bananas I planted over here. Several of them got knocked down in the hurricane, etc. Like, look at this, by the way, this papaya tree plant. It got knocked over in the hurricane. Boom, came down. I was making videos about what to do with that because it was too close to my neighbor's fence, and I let it get too big, and well, the storm solved it for me, dropped it right in the perfect place. I just basically sawed it off, threw the rest in a chop and drop. And I want to make a point here. AB hashtag TWT, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate the comment and you taking the time to take a look at this stuff. This is a piece that I had off. Oh, we're gonna look at fungus today too, by the way. I'm excited about fungus. It is, to me, fascinating, and the practices I've been using now are encouraging all different types of it to grow around the yard, and I love it. But look at how fast this trunk of that papaya is turning into dirt. It is just actively disintegrating. Solid as a rock. When I cut it and threw it back here, I just cut it, threw it back here, etc., and let the process occur. See, it's next to this. See the key lime? The key lime is not doing as well as I'd hoped. Leafless is not a good property for this particular creature, but hey, we're gonna see what happens. Take a risk, live a little. But look at this. chop and drop. Chop and drop everything. Just chop and drop the wood, chop and drop branches, leaves, pile it up. Oops, whoa, almost got tripped up. And watch it happen, but it's pretty rewarding. Okay, so the Musa bananas, championship pick. I'm going to give a quick hack on hurricane survival for bananas. Surviving hurricanes with bananas. If you really want them to survive, the best thing is they don't get knocked over. So I suggest trimming off a lot of the leaves so that they have less of a sail to be knocked over, because that what will happen is typically they'll get blown over and snapped kind of at the middle point where they're at because of all the leaves up top. So if you do that, you do impact their growth, but they might survive the storm, and they'll come right back as long as you give them the nutrients. But that has helped me survive hurricanes before with bananas with low losses. I didn't do that this time and paid the price. Now let's take a moment as we go around the yard to point out a couple of other things. I have reached I think the end of strong production on a bunch of pigeon peas that I planted. Now, by the way, I'm going to recommend that you plant pigeon peas immediately in pots or whatever, but it's a type of incredible perennial pea plant tree. It gets quite big and bushy and produces a ton of really good high protein peas. So this was just grown from a seed from some that I had in my yard. Put a seed in here and it grew, and the germination rate on these is very high. Most of mine got wiped out in other places in the yard, which is why it's good to have, I always think, all kinds of different things growing in all kinds of regions of your yard, because they will tend to have a better survival rate that way, to be more dispersed. And you can see I also have, it's finally happening. We planted this whole area with carrots, but the squirrels got in and ate most of them when they were little, so bummer. But the ones that made it produced this sweet, sweet carrot. Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to pick the whole thing. I'm gonna bury it back in there. All right, I'm gonna take a bunch of these. All right, but I'm gonna take the whole thing. There you go. Now that is animal treats for my yard like you wouldn't imagine. Smells good too. It's actually great to eat as well. Healthy for me to eat it also, but carrot greens. Carrots are so easy to grow. We're gonna take those over, feed it to the animals here in just a bit. But let's keep the flow, and we're on to the next one, which is pineapples. Okay, now this was a pineapple tower prior to Ian. Ian collapsed a giant Musa banana tree directly onto the pineapple tower and crushed it. So I've removed it. I've got to rebuild it, but I haven't done that yet. And in fact, I may rebuild it just on the ground, standing there with, build a foundation around it with some rocks in order to have this same tower set up. But it's got 20 pineapples. Here are a couple more. These stack up, and then it's very easy to water. And they love to be root bound. So you can see, even though it's a pretty small container, they grow very, very well. But all those stack up, and you have basically 20 pineapples in a very small space. I had them on this pole, rotate it very easily too, to give them a good, well-rounded sunshine experience on all plants. And this is just a matter of rebuilding it. But I'm going to say this is something anybody can do, which is to grow a pineapple plant. You just grow it in a fairly tight container is my advice. And they also like, I believe, fairly acidic environment, because one of the things you can do is put like pine bark chips in and with them. They love that. What I do, well, same recipe I do with everything. I just give them bunny manure. And if you're giving them bunny manure, they'll look like this, is my claim. They can also sustain a little bit of low water conditions, but you don't want to let them get dry. That's another key point. Okay, now we're going to move on to another topic in the video. Hopefully this mic isn't getting affected by the wind. The north wind is just picked up. Let me know if the wind is bad on the mic. I can move to a place with less wind. But this is the the coconut tree of the backyard. It's my one coconut tree in the backyard. I have several more out in the front yard, down on the curb too. But this is a green dwarf Malay coconut, so it won't get as tall as a normal coconut tree, but it will get as wide. So that was actually something I was a little concerned about, that I'd maybe planted it too close to these power lines here, but it's a good ways off, probably let's say 20 feet away. Yeah, maybe 15, but maybe more like 15. But you know, this thing gets very wide, so I'll be watching it. I can also keep it trimmed away fairly easily. But another thing that was helpful is that the hurricane collapsed a giant Dracaena tree that I had here onto this coconut tree and pressed this coconut tree onto the ground. So if I take away this oak log that we have here propping it up, it will flop down farther and kind of shade out this this Generi fig tree, which I have just getting started here. So I don't want that. So we've propped it up, and it'll regrow its roots, but it's going to naturally now tend to want to grow away from the ocean, which is great because it's growing also away from the power lines where I'm at now. We'll go look at the Dracaena, tree form Dracaena, and what's happened in the month following the hurricane. But I want to point this out too, which is that I think it's a fun way to view the yard, which is this is a pumpkin patch that's never going to grow pumpkins, but I planted all the seeds back here because I knew they would grow and then could just be sent back into the soil. But you choose to plant things to allow them to grow. Those plants put back sugars and all kinds of things into the soil that makes the soil healthy. So having something growing there be more productive. And in addition to all of the, you can see we got chickens laying eggs. You could probably be proud of their eggs, but a lot of composting, a lot of organic matter going back, well, along with the bunny manure, makes this an increasingly fertile area in what would have been a sandbar. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Well, if that chicken gets much louder, we're going to go feed it a treat, which I shouldn't reward the cluck fest, but all right, they quieted down. She quieted down. So yeah, I had thought also that potentially pumpkin sprouts would be something that the animals could eat, and it'd be a good treat, like those carrot greens. But as it turns out, the animals do not like pumpkin sprouts at all. And if you smell pumpkin plant sprout, it smells horrible. So the animals didn't like it either. So much for that. This is Carolina River rock that I'm slowly but surely sifting out through this sieve over time, and it's part of an ongoing process. I had soil build up in a rock bed that I have around my house. So this is what's left of the Dracaena. It already grew sprouts this high. It just shot up vigorously, and that's all from the. You can see the tree itself collapsed down. I actually removed all of everything but what you see here. This is just the tree, and everything that was above it I put back into the chicken pen. So all of it went back in there, and those hens will over time scratch at those leaves to the point of turning them back into soil, and it's makes excellent almost chicken bedding for this larger chicken run that I have. So you can see our chicken very plush, what do you call it, accommodations. They get to live in a, basically a little nature preserve. But we put stuff like this back in there to return the nutrient back to the cage, and also it's much easier to just throw them back in the chicken coop than it is to have to drag them out and try to do it with yard waste. But what I end up doing is, because I don't really want to have a Dracaena here anymore, is just drop this back and use this as a chop and drop thing moving forward. But I'll just keep trimming it back and throwing what else here. Gee whiz. Gee whiz. Let's go back to the chicken. Hey, didn't anybody tell you? Hey, chick, 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 chick. It's Sunday. It's supposed to be quiet. Maybe. Well, are they out of food? That's the other thing. Oh my. Because they complain when they're out of food like that. No, they're not out of food. Oh, sorry, ladies, you're not out of food. I'm just happy you laid an egg, I know. All right, but now's a good time as any to give them some treats. But yeah, the coconuts, the bananas, and the pineapples are definitely possible in Florida. You can see I've got them growing here. We're about even with Orlando. So Central Florida, you're in the game. You know, you might have some losses, hurricanes, freezes, etc. But for the most part, if you're below the subtropical line, you are in the game 100%. All right, let's see. There's a few things that a chicken likes more than carrot greens in my estimation. So let's go ahead. Do the experiment. Now bunnies like them too, which is why I'm going to portion this delicious treat out. Give one to Penelope, and we're gonna give this one. Yeah, to the lucky rabbit. The carrot goes to the rabbit. All right, get ready for a chicken party. Chick, chick. Oh, there's a chick back here that we can. Come on, now you're highly motivated. All right. Oh man. Where are they? Ooh. I don't see all the chickens. I see. All right. Think they like it? I don't know, if you're like me, just watching this is kind of fascinating. And sometimes I think, like, how humans been watching chickens eat treats. Probably been doing this for a long time, which is why it comes. Well, there you go. All right, so next we're going to go around and look at fungus. We've got a lot of decomposers now in the yard, like I said, as a result of the soil practices I've been putting into place over the last couple of years specifically. It's really, really accelerating now. All right, let's see here. Penelope, you're still a lazy bunny. Would you like this? Can't resist that. Why would you resist that? You're a rabbit eating a carrot. And this is the kind of stuff you can see on the Eat Your Backyard Sunday podcast. Here comes the carrot. Here comes the carrot. Now what? Decisions, decisions. The best moment in a rabbit's life. Oh. Bunny going into a deep trance-like state. All right, Thumper, you're next out going the bunny run too, buddy. All right, here you go. We still have a tarp up because when it rains, also when it gets a little colder, put the tarp. Well, he'll eat it. All right. Hey, look at this. An olive tree. Can you believe it? I've got an olive tree growing in my bunny run. Bought it for like 12 bucks at Lowe's, and it's been growing really well. All right, we're gonna get right into the fungus time. I might have to focus in on this just a bit, focus on the fungus. But we're gonna see how many types of fungus we can find in the yard right now. And I'm not sure. Chickens are being so loud. I'm not sure if we can be sure. I don't know how I'm gonna make them be quiet. But I don't know if we can be sure that these are different, but I'm just gonna claim they're different because they look different. This is very distinct and interesting. The way it's got those fine little pieces that come off the bottom. I've seen those just recently start to occur. Now look at this, it's almost like, looks like noodles. What on earth is that? Both growing, both on this same piece of oak. There's another one of those noodly ones, a little different than these. Okay, so just two in this little area, but oh, hey Penelope. She came over to be part of the action. Just on this next piece of wood, another one. These are like little turkey tail. Set up camp on the end of that. Oh, and now if you look down in here, there's one of those ones like we saw on the oak. So very interesting. Look at these very small versions of the one that we saw. So fascinating to me. 3 different types of fungus just on one little area. Now I almost never saw any kind of fungus in this yard 3 or 4 years ago. Almost never. And now I see it all over. Let's keep looking. Oh, here's another one. Now it looks like that type we just saw, so we won't count that as a new type. You can see here, same. Oh, that's a popular type. That's a mini version of that as well. So it looks like the spores or whatever it is that propagates those is starting to disperse. All right, now just laying wood down on the ground is going to encourage the fungus. I had some trimmings of the Montingia tree that I just threw around, and look at this. Is that incredible? That's all fungus. Now, is it the same as the fungus that we were just looking at, the same variety? This is a mango branch, actually. And I'm gonna say yes, it is. It is the same. So this is a pretty prolific one, attacking that mango branch quickly. All right, let's see. This has been a popular spot for fungus to pop up. And yeah, plenty of that same variety. So mostly what we're seeing are those 3 types. Let's take it back to one other area that has a fair amount. But anywhere you're going to put wood and let it just lay there on the ground, eventually you're probably going to get some kind of fungus growing on it. There we go. There's another one of those noodly looking. It's very, very interesting. You know, these are part of the community of the yard now. All the things that start to naturally work together in a system. Yeah, go back here. This wood I need to take the bark off of. We use all the parts of the oak tree that we harvested, but You can see this is an old turkey tail fungus. And they're notorious for being, I've heard a lot of people attribute them with killing trees. I don't know, this one has had the turkey tail fungus on it for a long time and it's not dead. So I think more or less my theory is with the turkey tail fungus and palm tree issue is that it will prey on, it'll probably kill something that has a tree that already has some other problem with it. That's my thought. Okay, let's look at this too, which is something I'm getting ready to plant. This dragon fruit. Are you growing dragon fruit? It's one of the easiest things to grow. It's a vining cactus, basically. And you can see it wants to grow roots. Hopefully you can see that. Let's see if I can get it in light. Yeah. It wants to grow roots off of every piece of it. Pretty easy to grow. And I want to point something out. This one I planted just from one cutting. This is this outer green part that was around the cutting I planted. And it just kind of dehydrates and turns into dried leaf-like thing. But the part that remains is this. And it's like a trunk. So then it gets a little bit more woody. But this one really turned out great, ready to go. Just got to decide where to plant it. What I have been wanting to do is have a lot of cactus up this fence, and you can see I'm well on my way to doing that with all these cuttings I planted there. I may go ahead and plant this one right here too. Get that one in there. I think that's going to be a good spot for it. And now the other thing I wanted to focus in on was these palm seeds that I grew. I had good success, as you can see, despite the squirrels and all kinds of other things trying to stop that. Plenty grew. This is a Chinese fan palm. You can see it's starting to now get the split leaf palm fronds on it, which means it's ready to go. And that's going to be an excellent Chinese fan palm. I've got to decide where to put that. And this is another pot full of Chinese fan palms. I think I might separate these into maybe 2 pots. They're also really great to grow, of course, in pots. Now this is Robolini, also doing quite well. And it looks like a couple fan palms set up camp in there too. We had some volunteers. And this is a very caloric looking areca palm, just planted from a bunch of seeds thrown into this pot. But doing well. I could get it to look great again just by giving it some bunny manure. All right, let's do another fun feeding of the animals. These are dandelion leaves. I grew them to see if they would be good for eating because they grow naturally around my yard all the time, and I wanted to see if they were good to eat, like purslane, you know, as an example of something that's good to eat. Well, they taste absolutely, this type to me, tastes absolutely horrible. I would never choose to eat them. You'd have to boil them or something. But, you know, would eat them if I had nothing else. But the hens love, oh, we've got all the hens represented now. The whole hen party is here. All right. Here we go. Here we go. The hens love it, as you can see. Almost as much as carrot green. Ooh, look at big beakfuls. I let the lowest hen get a beakful. If you hold it for them, weird as this sounds, then they can get leverage on it with their beaks. And these hens are pretty good about not biting your finger by mistake. It just, as I said that she bites my finger. Well, that's because there's a piece of it on my finger, but she plucked it off, not hardly feeling it. Look at that. Still hasn't bit my finger. Still, you have not bitten my finger. Thank hens. Maybe that's why they make so much noise. So looking forward to the next one of these sessions. We do this with them a lot. And a lot of what we grow is intended to be able to be fed to the hens. And that's an interesting way to look at your yard too, is you have these animals which your whole family is enjoying, simple animals, chickens, bunnies. And then, you have things growing around you can to feed to them that they love. It's like the ultimate petting zoo. That one's no good. I'm growing some moringa in a couple spots. This is a good example of it. Over there, you can see one that just snapped over. I was messing with it and it snapped over. It'll be fine. I'm gonna just cut it. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do that. I was gonna take a cutting from this top part, but it doesn't look like it's gonna work anymore. That'll be fine. All right, yep. Oh yeah, nice and elasticy. That thing is alive and kicking. It's gonna sprout up a ton there. It'd probably help it a lot, actually, that it's been trimmed back. But this one is now poised to take up this position that has been opened up by the mango tree liberating out of here. So let's take one of these. I'm not gonna, actually I don't want to damage this tree. They're kind of delicate when they're this size. Yeah, so I almost don't want to just leave it in here because I know I'll just make them fight over it. This makes it so easy. There you go. There you have it. All right, let me check the chat, make sure I didn't miss any. Good. So yeah, backyard coming back after the hurricanes and lots of other tropical opportunities in the subtropical zone to include guava, which I've also got growing back here. Papaya, certainly, which I've got growing. By the way, look at this papaya. All of my papaya, I had many papayas. Almost all of them were knocked down by the hurricanes, but this one remained, and it's got the tilt on it, the leaning tower of papaya. But still, at the top, ripe papayas. Now, a little easier to pick. But the papayas down low are also doing pretty well. Nice big papaya. And more growing. By the way, I'll show you one I've got growing in the pot here. This is just papayas from papayas I planted in here. One of the things I like to do is just pick up any rotten fruit that falls down and throw it into a pot, throw it here and there, and you'll find papayas growing sometimes a year later. All right, well, thanks for watching Eat Your Backyard. Also, if you stayed this long, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Also, go visit my original music channel called Jedi Jingle Maker, which is also on YouTube, and I have original music there as well as guitar review videos, gear upgrade mods on guitars, and home studio stuff. So yeah, check that out. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Hey, thanks for watching Eat Your Backyard. I hope you get some of this stuff going in your zone, Wishing you happiness, peace, and prosperity.